Welcome to Sew with Monty. Today I want to show you how to use 3 threads and 1 needle in your overlock machine. And we're going to remove the outer needle, which is to the left here, and show you how to then continue on and make stitches and a variety of stitches with this method. You want to use your little Allen wrench. You should have one with your machine if you have a manual needle release. Now some of you may have a lever that you can push and the needles will automatically come out. But if you don't, you're going to use this, and don't lose this. This is a very small little item, so make sure you keep it in your toolbox and don't lose it. What I like to do is take the long end so I have room to turn it. And when you loosen this little screw right here with the Allen head, it's right in this little black plate on my machine. When you do it, both needles are going to get loose, so you want to hang on to them with your left hand. So as you loosen this, they both don't fall down into the machine. And then I take my right hand and I just hold the inside needle in place as I gently pull out the left hand needle. So it just pops right out. And then put it in a safe place so you don't lose that. And make sure, I like to take my tweezers at this point and push the inside needle back up into place. There's little plates up here on top for both needles to rest upon. So you want to make sure that that needle's all the way up against its plate. And when it is, just hold it securely and tighten back the Allen wrench nice and tight. Make sure you get this really tight, nice and snug, so that it doesn't fall out when you're sewing. And I just like to pull on it a little bit and make sure I've gotten it in there and it's secure. So now we're going to thread the inside needle, which I've already done, and the upper and lower looper, which is also done, and we're going to carry on and do some stitching. So now we're ready to try some stitching, but the first thing we need to do is adjust our tension. And I'm only using the inside needle, of course, and the last 3 tensions, not the one that would handle the needle on the outside. I have my stitch length and width, my length is set on 3, which is average, and my width is set on 5, so that I can see what my tension will be like. I'm using multiple colors of thread. Now once I have this stitched, I want to take a good look at my tension, and I'm going to fold this over so everybody can see this very well. What I'm seeing is the stitches look pretty good, except the loop on the outside from the upper and lower looper is a little bit spaced away from the edge of my fabric. I'd like it to be a little bit snugger. So what I'm going to do is tighten my upper and lower looper 1 turn. I'm going off 4, which is what it was set for the 2 needle. I'm going to take it to 5. So I'm going to go 4, 5, 5 for my tension. Now let's try that again on the other side and see what we have. And I'm going to fold it over so you can see it against the white. Now as you can see, the loop is a lot closer to the edge. I don't have the spacing away from the edge like I did before. So it's much closer. Now this is the top side. So let's look at the underside and see if that's exactly what we want. Now what I'm seeing on the underside, it looks like it might be cupping a little bit and be a little bit too tight. So I'm going to back the under one, the lower looper, off about a half a spacing. Try one more time to see what I get there. I'm liking that a lot. See, it's much closer to the edge of the fabric, but it's not cupping on the inside. See how nice the underside, the lower looper looks? So I'm going to use 4, 5, and 4.5 to be my tension on my 3 needle on this particular fabric. So I'll write that on this side, and that will be what I keep. Now while I have this set, I just want to start playing with some stitch widths and lengths on my 3 as well. And I'm going to fold my fabric for this. And I'm going to take it all the way up to a 7 width. This would be an ideal stitch to cast off the edge of a piece of fabric that might ravel, or to set elastic with, and it looks really good. I'm very pleased with it. The roll, the hem is a little bit off. It looks like maybe the under looper might need to be a little snugger there, because see how the little looping is going forward a little bit. So I'm going to tighten that up just a tiny bit and try one more time. I like to shoot for perfection. The way it is perfectly fine, but if you can get it perfect, why not? And that one does look just about perfect. So I went back to 4, 5, 5 when I'm on double layer fabric. So I think that's the setting I'll prefer, is 4 for the needle and 5 and 5 for the looper, because mostly I'll probably be using 2 layers, and that looks fabulous. So that's how you adjust your tension, and you may have to readjust it when you do the 3 needle, just like you did with the 3 thread, just like you did with the 4 thread. I also suggest trying a couple with different stitch lengths. I've tried the 5, as you can see on the edge, and the 7 on the middle ones, so you can see that there's quite a bit of difference in width. So you want to try that, and also maybe do a run where you just play around with the length a little bit and see what the lengths will do. I'm going to start at 2 here and then go from there and see what they do. And then I'm going to go up to 3, which is where I was. And the last part of this, I'm going to do 4, which is the highest my machine will go. So this gives me a variety of lengths. So the first one being 2, 3 in the middle, and 4 at the end. So it gives me an idea of my widths and my lengths and stitch on my 3 thread. So let's go on. I want to show you some other things that you can do with your 3 thread that's a lot of fun. So now I want to show you how to use your 3 thread setting to do a narrow or rolled hem. And what I've done first is I've removed my stitch width former, or my stitch needle, or my stitch bar. There's different names for this, stitch regulator, but you want to take it out so that you can make the narrowest stitch possible. Now mine, there's a lever right here that I just push to release the gap, and it will fit right in here, making sure I don't get any threads caught in the way. And that makes it wider, and then when I want to make a narrower stitch, I just push the lever and it pops right out. Now you don't want to lose this, so put it somewhere safe so that when you get ready to use it again, you can find it. So now we're going to go ahead and sew. Now my manual tells me to set my tensions at 4, 3, and 6, and I've tried that before, but the upper looper at 3 looks a little bit loose. So now I'm on 4, 4, and 6, and then my adjustments over here on the side of my machines are right here and are right here for that setting. So let's turn the machine back around, and I'm going to show you how simple this is to do and how nice it comes out when we get it finished. The first edge I'm going to do is straight, so there's no, just straight out, and I'm going across the stretchier side of my goods, and I've just got it on neutral for my my feed. So nothing fancy here. I just want to see the stitch. Now it starts off slow, so just be gentle with it. Don't pull on it, and it will come on out the other end. You also want to keep your edge very clean. Don't try to cut off a lot of fabric with your machine, because it'll distort your rolled hem. Plus, it could damage your machine as well. So try not to use this as a cutting device to contour your fabric. It's just there to smooth out the edge, no more. Now this is just a regular rolled hem on a neutral differential feed. And you can see how nice this is. Now this is with regular thread. If you use a woolly nylon or a specific thread that's made for the serger for a rolled hem, you'll eliminate all the little white flecks, seeing the white fabric between the stitch. But you can see how beautiful that is. It's a rolled hem because the under looper tightens up so much that it pulls the upper looper all the way around the edge of your fabric, rolling across the edge, and that's how it gives its name, the rolled hem. Now on this side I have a slight curve cut in here, and I'm going to play with the differential feed. I'm going to take it down to 7, And I'm going to put this curve in here and see what happens with the differential feed on 7. In addition to that, I'm going to put a little bit of pressure on this with my finger. Not a lot, but just a little bit of consistent pressure here to see if I can make it ruffle even more. So you can see that adding a little pressure with my finger and the differential feed, I've caused it to flute a little bit, and you can kind of see the ruffling effect on your fabric that this has. So that's a rolled hem, 3 threads, and check your setting always before you start working on your final fabric. Mine ended up being 4, 4, 6 was my setting to get the appropriate stitch, and that's the top. And the understitch, you can barely see the underlooper. It looks like just a single needle almost all the way through. And we'll go on to some other stitches in the next video. So one last thing I want to show you with your 3 needle. Now this can be done also with a, 3 thread. This can also be done with a 4 thread. But you need to practice this on your machine, and that's going around curves. Concave curves and convex. This would be an arch or a convex curve. And this one is a concave curve. You need to practice using your machine to go around curves, because this is a very common thing when you're serging. So I'm going to take it off of the rolled hem setting and put it back on neutral here, or 1, for my stitch and my differential feed. I'm going to go back to 3 for my stitch length, and I'm going to go all the way up to 7 for my stitch width. Now I'm going to put back on my stitch width former. Don't forget to do this. All these little things you've got to remember, so if you need to make note, go for it. And then I'm going to change my setting back to 4, 5, 5, which was the original setting for just a regular stitch. So now let me get chain off a little bit here so we get our stitches back to the width we need, so you can tell the difference between where the stitch width former was narrow and then where it's wide. You can actually see it on the chain. So the first thing we're going to do is go around the little arched piece. And when you do this, you want to keep your hand slightly ahead of the foot so that you can turn it. Now you just go around through here nice and easy. And as you get to the curve, you just want to see how I'm using my hands to pivot it, and just go slow, go around your curve. It's quite all right. If you need to adjust, like let's say you get out of whack, lift your foot up, reposition your fabric, and keep going. This takes a little bit of practice, because it takes kind of taking your hands and sort of pushing the fabric around into a circle. The key is to keep your hands ahead of your foot. Don't have them back here. You need to have it up here so you can twirl it. And that's how you want to go around a curve. Now this is the 3 thread, but you can also do it with a 4 thread. Now that's the convex curve. Let's try the concave curve now. It's a little bit different. Now what you want to do on a concave curve, when you get to the really curved part, try to straighten it out without stretching your fabric. See how I'm straightening that out, letting it flute over here? That's quite all right. You just want to straighten it out on this side. Just like that. Go slow initially till you get used to it, and then see, and you can have really nice finishes on curves as well as on straight lines. So let's see if I can put these together for you. See? And that's it. Now this one is a little tricky, but we're going to sew 2 pieces of fabric together, one straight edge and one with a sharp corner, 90-degree angle. Now the trick is you want to have the 90-degree angle on top so you can watch it. This one's straight, and it's pretty much going to be predictable that it is straight. So I'm just going to lock that in there under my foot, and then I'm going to show you how we're going to do this. So we're going to start off by lining these 2 up. Now I don't know that they're exactly the same length, so I'm just going to put it in here arbitrarily and get started. And then I'm just sewing with my standard 3 thread on my standard setting of stitch length of 3 and width of 7. Now the first thing I want to do in this little corner, I want to do the slightest 1/8 inch clip. Not too much now. See how little that is? It's just a little tiny clip. Now we're going to go straight forward, and when we get to the clip, I'm going to readjust my fabric so that I have a fold going this way, and I've opened the clip up slightly, and I'm going to come on straight through. Now this takes a little practice, as always, anything you do does. But once you have it, see, now I've got this straight line, and there's my fold. But when I open this up, and I flatten out my corner side, see, you can see it quite nicely sewn into my straight edge. So there's the corner, and there's the straight edge. This would be great if I'm making like a V-neck. See, and this would be my V-neck line. And then I could come back in here and sew a little serge seam right there, or straight needle seam. And let's see if I can hold it here. It would create a V-neck. So this is a great little thing to remember. Just the slightest little clip, tiny clip. It doesn't have to clip all the way to the seam line, just enough to ease that a little bit so you don't get a pinch there, and you can do a corner.